Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Very, very glad to have you here. This is the New Cosmic Knowledge Channel. My name is Jeffrey Daugherty. I'm your host, and we bash boundaries. We expand envelopes to the point of tearing. We pulverize paradigms, and we take you to places that you've never been before, all in effort to get you divine, to get you sovereign, to get you free. And my eyes look a little puffy. I have been crying like a proverbial baby over here for about the past 10 or 15 minutes because I watched the new uploads from Sandra D'Angelo, from Sandra D. I watched her last two uploads, and I just got to tell you something. They were so powerful. They were so amazing. And if you haven't watched them, you are missing out. Hello to Beth in Atlanta. Please go to her channel. She's about 16 short of 1,000. I'd love to have it taken care of during this show, but you've got to go watch those videos about narcissists, empath, full liberation. Oh my gosh, amazing stuff. Beth, if you haven't subscribed, please go do so right now. It's just amazing. And literally I was crying because she is rocking it, Mama Chaos. Her content is so good. That's some of the best content I've heard on YouTube this year, including this channel. And nice to see you over in England. And knowing her personal journey, you know, we are sweethearts. She's my sweetheart. I just so proud. Trying to get emotional now. I'm so proud of her and so filled with admiration. Hey, WM, nice to see you back. So filled with admiration because, wow, it's just amazing to see. And a lot of people ask me, Jeff, why don't you tell us your story? And I've always been reluctant to do so because I'm pretty ashamed of it. I'm pretty angered by it. I don't like to tell my story because I'm ashamed of it. Because it's a dark story. But listening to Sandra share, it gave me the courage to say yes. And the people that follow me do deserve to understand my story and hear the story. So I'll tell it to you, even though I don't want to. And I hope that, hey, Paul, I hope that it can be an inspiration to you. She has kept her eyes on the mountain, and she is super duper, and I am super duper. I'm living in incredible favor from the divine to be given the great gift of her and her daughter to be able to love and and be a part of their life. It's an absolute privilege and honor. And there's a whole lot going on here that you folks will never know because it'd be inappropriate if you did, but it's just really amazing. But I'm going to start my story. And if you look at the show graphic that I prepared for this, it really gives you quite a bit of information about my situation. It kind of gives you information about, where I've been and where I am. And if you look at this, what you see is, you see a winding road there, of course. And on the left, you've got the Assemblies of God shield. And on the right, you've got the NCK logo, New Cosmic Knowledge, which is who we are and what we are today. And it was over hill, over dale. It was a long and winding road. It wasn't quite that straight, I have to be honest with you. But I remember the day that I got my license from the Assemblies of God. It was to that time the proudest moment of my life, aside from the birth of my son. And to be frank with you, it competed with that because that's just the place I was in. And I remember being licensed with the Assemblies of God. I thought I had arrived. I thought I was at the point of the spear of the move of God on planet Earth, all the gospel. And I thought that we had it and we preached it. And for 20 years, I was red hot, blood bought, sin killing, demon chasing, devil casting, Holy Ghost shouting, running the aisles, slaying people in the spirit, speaking in tongues, casting out devils, stacking people up like cordwood as they fell out under the power. I mean, I was under the spout where the glory comes out. I was in the whole role. And I remember the feeling the night that all came crashing down. I remember the night that all came crashing down. I remember the first wrinkle in the first crack in the foundation. I was cleaning up my church. I was pastoring a church at the time in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And, you know, it was a small church, and I was pastor and floor sweeper and all that good stuff. And I picked up a little tract. That was a little book. And it was about the Sabbath, and it talked about how Saturday was the true Sabbath, and according to the Bible, it is. And I remember sitting down and going through the Greek and the Hebrew and realizing, ooh, we're wrong. And, of course, the thought came to me, if we could be wrong about that, what else might we be wrong about? And I was pastoring a church. And my ex-wife, of course, married at the time, was living in the church. And at that time, 2 children were living in the church. And the church was feeding us, and the church was giving us our car, and the church was giving us our insurance, and the church was giving us our money. And to be quite frank with you, and this is why I dislike telling this story, I didn't have the integrity. I didn't have the integrity to leave when I first saw that it wasn't right. And I wish I would have, because there's no telling how many people over the next 16, 17 years I led astray. There's no telling how many people listened to me and did things and suffered great hardship in their lives. And I call out to the divine in hopes that no one met with a horrific spiritual result of due to the teachings that I gave them. And it was many years. That was the first rock in the foundation. The second rock was when my youngest daughter was born. My youngest daughter was born, and I'm in the delivery room, and she's born. And as she's born, the words of Paul, the apostle, came to me. Women shall be silent. Women shall be keepers at home. Women shall not ask questions. Women should be under subjection of a man. A woman was made for the sexual pleasure of a man. A woman, if she didn't have a man's authority over her, would be having sex with all kinds of spirits. And all of a sudden, I was way too into it when my first daughter was born to have this type of introspective belief. Yeah, Michelle, that's why it's so hard for me. They were talking about my little girl all of a sudden. And I realized that was not right. And I realized that it wasn't in line with the person who at that time I called Jesus or Yeshua. I realized it wasn't right. It was wrong. But yet again, I lacked the integrity to walk out, because they were paying for my kids, and they had developed a habit of eating 3 times a day. They were paying for the ex-wife. She had developed a habit of eating 3 times a day. And I was getting a lot of money. I was getting a lot of acclaim. And I remember the third strike when I realized, wow, I'm in real trouble. Wow, I'm in real trouble. I was preaching a meeting. I can't even remember where it was, but I found myself intentionally seeing how many times I could get the people to stand up and be shouting and screaming and let them settle back down and get him back up and let him settle back down and get him back up and let him settle back down. And I realized I was in trouble. I almost realized that death might have been close to me if I continued along those lines. And I remember going to my now ex-wife. I remember we were in Vancouver, Washington at this time, which is a suburb of Portland, basically. And she's sitting in this big, like, lazy boy chair, and I got down on my knees in front of her, and I said, I'm so sorry. I've been harsh. I've been critical. I've been controlling. I haven't been loving. I just been hit with this revelation that God loves everyone. Most people get that revelation about 3 seconds after they become spiritual, but it took me 17 years. And I said, I'm sorry. I'll be a better father. I'll be a better husband. And I was a terrible father. And I've apologized to my children. I had a son, still have a son. He turned 34 just the other day on May 7th. Happy birthday, Joshua. I am proud of you, son. And I've said these things to him before. He was a lively, and I'm being bare and honest with you today, folks. He was a lively, bubbly, outgoing, gregarious kid. But I was a preacher. And the kids of a preacher are supposed to sit tight and act right. And beautiful story which illustrates both the horrors of the parent I was and the kind of kid he was. I'm up there preaching. I don't know where his mother was, but he's sitting on the front row right off here to my right. And I'm preaching. I'm up there with the microphone. I'm preaching. I don't know, a couple hundred people in the church. And I'm preaching. And he's down there playing with a car or acting up. Hold that thought, Michelle Cannon Free. If we could only do leftovers or to have do-overs. And he's playing with some kind of car or something. He's making noise. And I stop the preaching. And I give him just a look. I stopped, Josh. I made eye contact with you, this whole thing. I stopped. I went on. He kept doing it. Second time, stop, drop the microphone, stare at him. He's got the message. Third time, Joshua. Fourth time, I go down. I set the microphone down in the middle of my sermon. Boom, on the podium. I grab him. I throw him over my shoulder. I'm taking him out the back because I'm going to whip his butt. And as I push through the doors, there's a middle stanchion and the doors swing. Or was it the side? Anyway, as I'm carrying him out, he's on my shoulders, his butt's right here. And he grabs the side of the door and yells out, "Church, pray for me." And of course, the whole place breaks up laughing. And he didn't get a spanking, but I broke that spirit. I think he was 4 or 5. By the time he was 10, he didn't play with cars on the front pew anymore. By the time he was 10, he didn't have that gregarious, outgoing spirit anymore because I'd beat it out of him. I'd legislated it out of him. And even though he's 34 years old today, there's no doubt that he's not the kid or the man that he would have been if I hadn't been the man that I was. And some years later, I think I'd already left the church. I saw a movie called Finding Neverland. Johnny Depp, that chick from Titanic, and I think a very young Benedict Cumberbatch, maybe. But it was all about the guy that wrote Peter Pan, and the whole thing was about not making children grow up before they have to. Because something happens in a child. Something happens when a child, and you can see the moment. You can see the moment when the wonder, the joy of childhood vanishes and they awake to the real world. And I live every day knowing that I did that to my son. And there's no telling how many other people I did that to that I never even met. So yeah, I'm not real excited about telling the story. But finally that day when my ex-wife said to me, just like this, I was expecting, tears and hugs and let's move on and grow strong. And she said, too little, too late. Just like that. Too little, too late. Wow. Long story short, she decided she didn't want to be married to me anymore. And to be frank with you, she probably had good reasons, because I probably wasn't any better a husband than I was a father, because it was all about me, my ministry, my church, my work. And just like that, it was over. No church, no kids, no house, no spouse. Within 2 weeks, I'm in the basement of my buddy's house, living out of a room. Thankfully, I could talk, and so I got into sales, and my life began to really take off from that point, but I still was trying to do the preacher thing and spent about 3 more years trying to do the Christian preacher thing. And then I finally, after that scenario, I just sat down in my house and I went back to the original languages, the Greek, the Hebrew. And this was before the internet. You had to buy actual books, thousands of dollars worth of books. And I laid down everything that I believed. And I built it all back up. Admittedly, I built it all back up from the Hebrew and Greek scriptures of the Bible. But I began to realize that we're not filled with original sin. We got the spark of divinity within. That God does not hate us all. And God is not sitting up there on a throne, making a list, checking it twice, finding out who's naughty and nice. He doesn't see us when we're sleeping. He doesn't know when we're awake. He doesn't know if we've been good, bad, or good. And we're down here trying to be good for goodness sake. I realize that the Elohim are loving and kind, that they created us in love, and that they created us to grow up to be like them. I realize that we're divine, we're sovereign, we're free. And about 8 years ago, 7 years ago, I said, you know what? This is the message that I should be talking about. This is the message I should be sharing with people. And I started Blog Talk Radio first, and I started this YouTube channel, I think. When did I start this YouTube channel? Sometime in that general vicinity. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't do a very good job. I haven't really been working YouTube that long correctly until Rex took me under his wing about 1.5 years or 2 years ago. And since then, we've been talking about the fact that you've got the spark of divinity within. We've been talking about the fact that you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. We've been talking about allowing you to retain your sovereignty at the point where you leave this life, so you get to go where you choose to go, not where someone or something makes you go. And yes, I can still get a little rambunctious. Yes, I can still get a little loud. Yes, I can still be a little harsh, but I'm not harsh anymore from a place of I know it all and you know nothing. I'm not harsh anymore from a place of you're stupid and I'm smart. I'm harsh from the place of trying to give you, it's like when someone's delirious, you give them a smack to wake them up. That's why I'm harsh. And sometimes it's fun and silly. But that's a short story of how I came from Assemblies of God to New Cosmic Knowledge. But you noticed a change in me a couple of months ago. A change in me when Sandra D came into my life. And I just want to say this. I want everyone to know this. And I want everyone to understand this. Sandra and I met 7, 8, 9 months ago. And it was very apparent that there was very strong attraction. I was working with her counseling, and the attraction was there. But she wouldn't budge. She was in a relationship, and she wasn't having any of it. I did my little, little stuff, but she was having none of it. And it was so bad that I was so attracted to her that I couldn't work with her anymore. And I felt like it was inappropriate, but I think it was just because I was too scared to tell her that. So I just wouldn't show up for my appointments with her. And they, of course, were on Zoom. So finally she got tired of that. And then I went to Coral Castle. But the integrity point is what I wanted to point out to you, that integrity piece. It would have been so easy back in August, September, October to have, started a texting relationship, start a phone relationship, on the side. I wasn't in a relationship. She was in a committed relationship, but I don't think I asked, but she never gave me her phone number. She never sent me any texts. She never gave me any calls. She didn't send me any emails. And I was struck with the integrity. I was struck with the morality. I knew she wasn't happy. It was all over her face. And we were doing counseling, so I knew what was going on, and even in that one time. And I was struck by the morality and the integrity. And then I went to Coral Castle, and like many subscribers have done, have met me places where I am. And Sandra came with her lovely daughter, and completely platonic, no touching, no kissing, none of that. But it was so apparent to me. I mean, fireworks going off. I'd never seen her in the flesh. That was December 17th. And she said I did a good job masking it. And I'm getting to a point. But we went our separate ways. But I think the next day I did break down, and I sent her a text message and said, I'm glad you're in a good place. I don't want to do anything to disrupt your relationship, but if anything ever changes, you know where to find me. And then several months later, out of the blue, I get a text message from Sandra that says, "Am I ever going to see you again?" And here we are. But the real takeaway from this whole thing, the real takeaway from this whole discussion we've had here is that it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And your past does not have to equal your future. In fact, your present doesn't even have to equal your future. As the new cosmic kitten walks into the room. Because about, again, 7 years ago or so, oh my, is he going to be able to make it up there without turning stuff over? No. But I started to do the inner work. And it was 7, 8, 9 years. It was 5, 6, 7 years later. After doing the hard work, after realizing or saying to myself, I'm probably going to be alone the rest of my life, that here comes Sandra into my life. And just today, really, I began to realize this is why I was weeping, with full cognition that I'm not Hey, mister. You give me some moral support? I'm not who I used to be. And all the lonely hours and all the lonely times and all the meditation and all the fasting and all the studying sometimes in life, when you do the inner work and you do it right, you don't serve a deity or a divinity that's sitting up there looking to throw a lightning bolt at you. You don't serve deities that are ready to smash you with a fist. You serve deities that are ready to extend a hand to you and help you up. You serve deities that are ready and waiting to bring the things into your life that will make you fulfilled. And every now and then, ladies and gentlemen, you get the chance. Like Michelle said earlier, you get the chance for a do-over. You get the chance to come into a woman's life who's been through hell, trusting and loving and giving and being crushed. And you get a chance to love and honor and respect and adore. You get a chance to heal yourself. You get a chance to clear your karma. And you get a chance to be an instrument of reward for someone that has been through hell and has somehow retained not only integrity, but beauty and kindness. If you just hold on, one of these days you're going to get a chance to be part of rewarding and serving one of the most amazing human beings that you've ever met. And I know you want to give up, and I know you want to quit, and I know you just want to throw your hands up and say it's not worth it, but trust me, it is. And then when you think it can't get any better, you realize that you even get a chance to, let's face it, folks, I'm 55 years old. I thought my days of being able to repair karma along parenting were long over. I've become, now that all the work's done, I've become a pretty decent dad. I love my kids. I interact with my kids, but if it's not enough to have the smartest, kindest, most gifted, and tremendous individual that I've ever met walk into my life, but to get a chance to be a part of a child's life, I'm not the father. I don't want to be the father. This child has a father. But I get to be there and it's a gift to get to, in some small way, help correct the wrongs that I did to my own son and daughters by being loving and kind and respecting and honoring and cherishing and building up her parents, both of them, not just the one I'm in love with, even the one I'm in something much different than love with, but showing honor and showing integrity. And Sandra said just a throwaway comment today that really made it slam home to me. She said that her daughter, Sophia, was going to be able, and this was right after Sandra was doing those videos, that Sophia was going to be able to choose wisely at least partially, because I'm in some small way having some influence in her life. And when she said it, it rang so true, and it touched me. I think I even saw some future visions. And if you really want to make a difference in a child's life, ladies and gentlemen, love their mother. If you really want to make a difference in a child's life, honor their mother. If you really want to make a difference in a child's life, honor, respect, nurture, adore their mother. If you want to turn a little girl into a true fairy tale princess, treat her mother like a queen. How did I get here from where I was, preaching that women should be barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen making sandwiches, owned by men, to the place where I almost have to work on it, because you end up, I almost feel like I'm in the presence of a goddess and I want to worship. Two of them, but I know that's not where we need to go. But you asked me a bunch of times, so you're to blame for this. How did I get here? How do you get from where you are to where you want to be? Very simple. Number one, realize you're going the wrong way. Realize it's your fault. and quit blaming everybody else. I was married for 16 years to one woman. Over the next 16 months, I had weddings, wasn't legally married, got annulled to 2 more. Had a bunch of disastrous, crazy, drama-filled relationships. And it was always, man, why do I attract all these crazy women? Where are all these crazy women coming from? And finally, one day, I realized there's one common denominator in all of my relationships, and it is me. And that's where the problem was. And when you realize you're the problem and you decide you're going to fix it, and you burn all your bridges and you burn your ships in the harbor, and you don't leave yourself any means of retreat, and you say, look, I'm fixing this. Now, I wasn't addicted to alcohol or drugs or sex, or I wasn't what you'd call an addict, but I was just as sick and twisted and in need of help as any of those people. And that's why I have such great respect for Sandra to fight back from a place of addiction, from a place of being so low that she had to reach up to touch bottom. I felt that way, but let's face it, I was nowhere near that. I was just I would say a bad word, but we do sometimes have kids listening to us. I was just a jerk, an idiot, a self-centered, egotistical piece of something that you don't want to say at 2:23 in the afternoon on YouTube. Realize you're going the wrong way. Realize it's your fault and go to work on yourself. I went to work on myself about 10 years ago. I went cold turkey from all relationships. I meant to spend 6 months. I ended up spending like 24 months. Didn't date a woman, didn't talk to a woman on the phone, didn't even smell a woman except at the beauty shop. And let me tell you something, brethren. When you haven't been dating women and you go to get your hair cut and all of a sudden there's a woman there with perfume and stuff in pretty close proximity, I tell you what, you remember what you have been abstaining from. And that was the beginning for me. 24 months of nothing. I got myself clean and sober from having to have somebody with me. You know, Sandra said this the other day, that her greatest fears around being alone. So were mine. Interesting. And I got to the place where I liked my own company. I realized that I was okay. I'm not a bad guy to hang out with. I enjoyed it. And then I got turned on to YouTube and started working and writing books. And before you know it, I got 14 books. I'm on Coast to Coast 7 times. We got 14,000 almost subscribers. I know Sandra's going to be over 1,000 real quickly, because you're going to go to Sandra D'Angelo and you're going to subscribe to that channel and listen to this great stuff. And I kept doing the work. And then I realized, you know what? I've done a lot of internal work. I've done a lot of shadow work. I've done a lot of mental work. I've done a lot of personality work. I realized that I was a controller and I stopped it and broke it. And then I realized I needed to go to work on my physicality. Did it. Am doing it. And I got to the place where I realized that I had found the one, and I'm him. And I had to get to that place, and you have to get to that place. You have to get to the place where your inner work is done. Sandra says it's an inside job. You've got to get to the place where you get into yourself, you get into the dirtiest, nastiest, grimiest, smelliest, filthiest, ugliest, most horrible part of you. And you start digging and shoveling And then you get the hose and you start spraying it all down. And then you dig and you shovel and you clean some more, and you get the squeegees and you clean it all out. And then you air it all out. It takes time. And then you put new stucco up and you put new paint, and finally you get the whole thing livable again. And you think, okay, I can accept this. I can look at myself in the mirror and smile instead of look away. I can lay down at night and sleep instead of cry. And you think, okay, I found the one and I'm him. And then when you get to that place, after you've done the work, then the universe goes to work for you. Stop it, Sandra. I'm trying to get through this. Then the universe goes to work. And I'm here today to tell you that I was wrong. Because I have found the one. And it's not me. It's her. And not just her, but her and her daughter and the work that we're going to do together. And that's how I got here. And since we're talking about an ex-preacher, I remember a verse in the Bible that says, joy unspeakable, full of glory, the half of which has never yet been told. That's where I live. That's who I love. That's the great gift that I've been given. And every day it gets better and better and better. And I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. You're ready to give up. You don't think it'll ever happen. I was you. Do the work and you'll get the power. But nothing happens for you. I'm stealing from Sandra again. Nothing happens to you. Nothing happens through you until something happens in you. And nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to do the work. And you've got to do it on yourself, on your own. You've got to do it yourself. But brother, the Elohim are in the gift-given business. And trust me, cousin, business is a booming. I can't go back and fix everything that I messed up. But I've been given a chance, a second chance. I've been given a do-over. And I'm going to do it over and over and over the right way. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. And I watched Sandra's last two videos and I cried my eyes out with pride. She is amazing. She's powerful. She'll change your life. Subscribe to her channel, watch her videos, and stay tuned. Tomorrow, Serpent and Dove, 11 a.m. Thursday, we're going to be with Heidi Vandenberg at 7:30 at night talking about twin flames in Vedic astrology. And folks, it's not just for us. It's not just about Sandra D. and Jeffrey D. It's about you and me. It's about all of us. Your dreams are waiting to be fulfilled. In fact, there's a verse in the Bible, and it's not dung. This is a real one. It talks about your blessings will pursue you and overtake you. I didn't know it, but all this time, and I'm not talking about sacrificial blessings, the goodness of the divine will pursue you and overcome you. At 2 p.m. tomorrow, Deborah L. Smith, Breaking Dawn, will be on the channel. I'm looking forward to that. That whole time when I'm not dating people for 24 months, that whole time where I'm meditating and fasting and reading and studying, that whole time where, and I found some stuff in some weird places, man, where I'm realizing that I had a suppressive personality, where I was controlling, where I had to get that out of me. It wasn't about them, it was about me. That whole time, the favor of the God started running after me. And it was a long way away because I'd been real bad for a real long. It was running after me. The UPS truck of the universe, filled with the blessings and the favor of the divine, was chasing me down. And all of a sudden, one day in the merry, merry month of March, got you, that truck caught up with me. And I thought it was a UPS truck filled with the favor of the divine. But brother, sister, it's a boxcar train filled with cars beyond how far my eyes can see. The favor of the gods has chased me down and it's overcome me. And now I know what it means by overcoming. It overcomes you. You don't have words anymore. So that's how I got here. You asked. You've got no one for this to blame for this but yourself. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I don't ever plan to tell it again. And all I can say is thank you to all of you that have been with me on this journey. And something within me says, yeah, it's been a wild ride, but it's just getting started. Thank you to my love, my twin flame, Sandra D. Thank you to my children. And thank you to every bad thing that's ever happened to me because it brought me to this place. Thank you to all of you. And this is a great lesson of be careful what you ask for, because you asked for my story and now you got it. Like Deborah L. Smith says, buckle up. We're just getting started. I love you, Sandra. Thank you. You're divine. You're sovereign. You're free. And you're just like me. Do the work. Keep going. And your blessings will catch up with you. And they will overtake you. I think I am the favorite of the gods, but I know it's not true because they're not respecter of persons. The same thing they've done for me, they'll do for you. If you unindoctrinate yourself. Thank you. I love you all. And we'll see you again real soon.